Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is Gianluca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slave.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on UnitedStates.fm network. The purpose of the show, it is first of all to admit that we have a problem, okay? And I always said, we ignorance, we're not going to be free. That's the most, probably most powerful tool. We must find education. And of course, education follow up by action. I remember Thomas Jefferson when I was studying in my journey to become an American. I used to try to read everything I could. And one of the quotes from the founders that really caught my attention was from Thomas Jefferson. And he said, I'm trying to see if I remember right, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects something that will never be. So the problem is that we've been kept ignorant, or maybe we chose the path, the easy path to stay ignorant, and that's why our evil flourish. And the bottom line is, if we know that we don't know our rights, how can we even defend our rights? So that's why the purpose of the show is try to fight back in every way we can, and we start with education. And that's why I want to bring you today with me somebody that I really believe can give us a lot of great tools. And I like his attitude, I like his spirit, I like also his information in his book. He's a book author, he's an activist in freedom, and he's a person that he doesn't just talk the talk, but also walk it. And sometimes he pays the consequences by really faithful to his principles, and I really admire for him. Is Mr. Michael Badnarik. Michael, are you there?
I'm here, Luca.
Thank you for coming on, and we had you on the show a few times since my beginning of this, my little journey as I try to put this stuff together. You know, I'm not exactly a professional radio host, but I think slowly I'm getting better. But the bottom line is I'm trying to spread information here. That's it, and that's why I want you here. First of all, tell me, you're doing better. I heard you had some problem with your health, but you're back to Texas, right?
I'm getting healthier. I was in the hospital about 2 months ago, but I'm getting healthier, and I'm planning to move to Texas very soon.
Okay.
I'm going to Texas I'm going to spend New Year's Eve in Texas, and then I'll teach my Constitution class in Austin, Texas, and then I'll be traveling around the United States teaching my class to anybody who's going to listen.
Perfect. You know, and that's the way also I found about you. I remember I was going through a YouTube video somebody sent me, I guess. It was one about one of your Constitution classes. And I really want to, first of all, before we go ahead, we try to give more details exactly what you do when you do these seminars or classes. Briefly, you are the best person to introduce yourself. If I can give you 1 minute, just let people know a little bit about your background, okay? Because you've done a lot of interesting things in life, but let's go particularly when it comes down to the political activism, coming down to the common cause of freedom.
Well, I started out as a computer programmer and a trainer, and then some friends of mine said, we want you to run for president. And I said, president of what? And they said, president of the United States. So I ended up as a nominee for the Libertarian Party for president of the United States in 2004. I ran for Congress in the Libertarian Party in 2006. And then I had a radio program on the internet for about 2 years. And I've been, the last 4.5 years, I've been in Northwest Indiana working as caregiver for my mother and father. And my mother passed away in April. My father now lives in Michigan with my brother. And so it's time for me to return to Texas and pick up where I left off, trying to light the fires of liberty one heart at a time.
Perfect. And also, I'm so happy that I had a chance to find your books. You're also a book author. Give please away the names of your books, please.
The first book is Good to be King. It talks about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It tells people a lot of things that they don't know, but they should know about our country. And the second book is called Secret to Sovereignty. Everybody wants, well, almost everybody wants to be free. And they call me and they say, well, Michael, how do I, drive without a driver's license? How do I, carry a gun without a permit? And, the answers are in that book.
Yeah, listen, by the way, I'm not laughing because I tell you, when you say things like that, supposed to be, they are serious matters, okay? But the way you say it and the way also, sometimes I can see the person out of the blue driving right now. I say, what is he talking about? He wants to drive the car without a driver license. Oh my God, he doesn't want to, he wants to have a gun without a permit. Guys, for me, I tell you, I don't want to ruin the surprise because I think that we got the person here can say better than me with my accent and my grammar limitation. Tell us, please, the difference between permit and right, between privilege and right, because that's exactly we've been brainwashed so long to think now that the government is the one giving us the permits, so we have the permit to do anything. This is not freedom. I mean, this country wasn't founded on a permit, for God's sake. So give us a little bit of story because, then, of course, we get trained and brainwashed the last 100 years at least. And people, when you start to tell them, by the way, you need a permit, you don't need a permit to have a gun because it's called your God-given right, also enumerated in the Bill of Rights as the Second Amendment. They may look at you like you're crazy. But give them a little bit of short story, the foundation and the principles of a permit, rights, and privilege and all this stuff.
Well, the most important thing for Americans to learn is the difference between rights and privileges. A right is something that you can do without asking. Privilege is something the government allows you to do. They give you a concealed carry permit. They give you a driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
They are officially letting you know that you have permission. Well, I'm willing to bet nobody in your listening audience, nobody has a church permit. And that's because freedom of religion is a right. You don't have to ask. And even if I were to say, Luca, don't think about God, there's no way I can enforce that rule.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can think about whatever you want. In my class, I tell my students, you're not allowed to think about a black cat. If I catch you thinking about a black cat, I'll ask you to leave. And everybody laughs because it's impossible to enforce that law. So a right is something that you can do without asking. Again, the government gives you privileges when they give you a permit or a license. So if you don't have a church permit because freedom of religion is a right, then why do you think I need a concealed carry permit? How is the Second Amendment different than the First Amendment?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is it's not. There's no difference.
But we've been trained slowly. They've been sticking their foot between the door, and now they're smashing the door with all the shoulders. I mean, and then we got somehow used to the idea that the government now is there and can give us permits, like the license to marry. I mean, why should I ask to the government, the piece of paper that tell me now I can get married with that person? Okay, I mean, we forgot maybe that's exactly how all started. That it was for the black people to keep them separated from the white people, and that was part of the segregation. It was part of the fraud, and then we're all slaves. After that, we all get the license to get married, but not if you don't want to. And that's why I like so much your book, the final book, Secret to Sovereignty, because in a very, very audacious way, you, after all, remind us that after all, it's millions of us. And we have more power than will make us believe. They want to put us in fear and think that we are just little people out there that we cannot change this status quo. Instead, we can. All we have to do is stand up and start to say, I want it now. And I tell you, I was very inspired by that, but I would like to put a disclaimer out. All the things we are saying here, even we can justify that there is the Constitution as the supreme law of the land on our side, and our inalienable rights on our side. At the same time, you're gonna think for yourself before you try to actuate on any of the things we're talking here. Because going back to the, something I learned relatively recently, okay, a few years ago, and I don't want to be an hypocrite. I have a driver license, okay? That's the bottom line. But I know that U.S. Supreme Court, there are different cases that pretty much says, and I'll tell you also the sources, no license necessary to drive automobile on public highways and streets. So at the same time, I'm aware that if I go around in Mojave County without driver license, my life is going to be a hell. And probably the sheriff deputy out there, he has no clue what I'm talking about. And if I talk too many times, probably is going to slap the handcuff on me just because it's sometimes we need to pick and choose as our battle. But the point is we need to start to educating ourselves. So maybe we can educate also our public representative, starting from our sheriff people. That's the point. So I was going to say that whatever you're listening now, do your researches. And even sometimes we have, as I said, the Constitution on our side. Doesn't mean that we're living under the Constitution anymore. So let's be careful what you do. You do at your own risk, okay? Now, please, Michael, I want to go back to you. I would like to think for a moment, close your eyes, think that we are like here and now in front of you, there are like 100 people, 1,000 people, and we want to have a taste of your Constitution class. By the way, I would like to invite everybody to go to your website, that you have incredible, beautiful YouTubes there, videos, that I downloaded, and people can watch what you do during your classes. Can you give, first of all, your website?
My website is constitutionpreservation.org.
Perfect. Constitutionpreservation.org. I will post a link on today's show on lovegunsfreedom.com to your site so people can go there and also they can contact you for the class. But now I would like to give this sample. Let's say you're here and of course, we're talking about just a few minutes, but let's say people want to have an idea, what is your class about? How many hours, how many days, or how much? Give all the information you want to give. I give you 5 minutes, I shut up.
Okay. I teach an 8-hour class, and we've got over 240 years of American history. I've done 30 years of research on my own, and I try to compress all of that into a single day. And it's difficult. It's a very full day. Most people are stunned and surprised when we get to the end of the day. They can't believe that the day is already over. It goes by really quickly. We typically run from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. We take about half an hour for lunch, various coffee breaks. The cost of the class is normally $150, but it's kind of a special deal. Until the end of March, my class is only $100. I'm giving you a 33% discount on that, trying to, prime the pump, motivate people to come out and learn some of the things that I know. And we talk about philosophy at the very beginning of the class. I mean, why do we have government at all? I mean, why not anarchy? Everybody's upset with the government. Let's just have anarchy. We'll have no government. And, people panic. Oh my gosh, we can't live without government. It's like, well, all right, if we have to have government, then what kind of government? Socialist government? Communist government? What type of government do you think we ought to have? And as we analyze the fundamental principles, the things that are true, whether there was government here or not. You're alive. Most of us want to stay alive, and we want to make that life as long as possible, even though we know none of us is immortal. None of us is going to last forever. So, what do you want to do while you're still alive? Well, you want to protect your life You want to protect your family. You want to protect your property. You want to keep things as they are without having somebody bigger and stronger, come and take all that away from you. And so you say, well, okay, I'm protecting myself, but, maybe Luca, you and I can get together and we can, form a contract. I can help protect you. You can help protect me. And as we, get more and more people to join us, we invent government.
Mm-hmm.
The only legitimate purpose of government is to protect your life, your liberty, and your private property. That's the purpose of a legitimate government. Now, do all governments do that? No. I mean, socialist and communist governments don't believe in private property. They believe that they're in charge of everything. They're going to loan you a house. They're going to loan you a car. And your job is to work to keep the government operational.
Exactly.
And I mean, that was the way things were underneath the king, under the emperor. You have to give 1/3 of your productive output for the benefit of the king. Well, when we came to North America, we came up with what we thought was a better system. Instead of us working for the government is supposed to work for us.
Yeah,
At least that's the way things started out. Mm-hmm. And so, during the first couple hours of the class, I discuss all of these things that people already know are true. They've forgotten them, because we've had all of that trained out of us. Oh, we got to get a permit. I got to go ask the government for permission. That has become a habit. But when you stop and think about it, you realize that's not the way things were supposed to be.
No, let me tell you something. Sometimes we all went through these stages, at least speaking for myself, to almost get used to the idea. And then something out of the blue pop, like the light. And I remember a few years ago, about probably 11 or 12 years ago, I really started to have this sort of revelation. I said, oh my God, I really don't see much difference from the time of the kings and lords from what we live in now. It is a little more sophisticated. Because think about it, and I always say to my listeners, you think really things have changed? You were talking about under the king, you must give 1/3 of your work or whatever you go, when you go hunt or you go to the field, give it to the king. Now we go much more than that. We are forced to give sometimes even 60-70%, depends which part of the world you live, also in America too, to the new king. In this case, is the state. And then, of course, every time you want to do something, you guys have to ask permit to the king. If you want to build a house, you have to ask permit for a king. After all, what's supposed to be our land or our home, it is not our home. Because you know very well, if you don't pay your property taxes, your extortion money at the end of the year, your home, the illusion that you have a home is gone. And if you don't ask for the permit to put a little chicken coop out there, you're going to get fined. And if you don't get the fine, you're going to get arrested. So I really realized that we've been transitioning from lords and kings. We had a moment of hope and real freedom, even with all the limitations. After all, our founding fathers were human, so they tried to do the best they could. But we had a good foundation, and then we let it go, and now we are back to the place where we started almost. But the difference is we have the right, because also not only is our God-given right, but also believe because somebody before us died and bled and gave everything they had to create this constitution and create this new republic. We have this right to take it back. So we're not like in Europe, that the people never had it. They never had to fight the revolution. They always been slaves. Here we had this right and we need to take it back. And that's why we are here with you. And I hope we don't need to do it with force, but we can do it with education through the process. That's why. Let me shut up again. Go ahead, please.
Benjamin Franklin identified a difference between revolution and rebellion.
Yes.
And according to Benjamin Franklin, a revolution is a change in the way that people think. So between 1760 and 1775, people changed what they were thinking about the king. In 1750, it's Hail to the King. King George is wonderful. And then by the end of 1775, we're not that happy with the king anymore. We changed the way that we were thinking. Now, Franklin said that if you have the revolution, the change in the way people think, if you do that early enough, then you can avoid the rebellion, the bloody, fighting.
Yes.
But, you got to do that change in the way that people think. If we wait too long, then the only way to fix the problem is going to be with force and bloodshed. And I'm running around the country teaching my class, trying desperately to avoid, rebellion.
Yeah. We almost at this point. I mean, you realize very well, better than me, you've been living here since you were born. I'm just came here. This country, we've seen this change going on the last at least 100 years, for my opinion, since the creation of the private Federal Reserve. We've been destroying, and more even before that. But for sure, the last 20 years, and let's not even talk about the last 8 years, we are living through things that now, probably just 10 years ago, you could never imagine. Now the government can force us to buy a service or a product without our will. And then if we cannot afford it, we're also going to get fined. I mean, think about the Obamacare stuff. And we are really slaves. I mean, people may laugh at me sometimes when I go around talking about the seat belt. Maybe it's a minor thing for many of the listeners. I don't know. All I know that for me is one of the most powerful things, because government was able to force us to say, the government owns your body. Because the moment that they can force you to put a seat belt against your will means that there is no reason but you're a slave. And now after that, they can also say you got to buy a product against your will, like the insurance. So we're coming to this point. I don't know, really. I hope enough Americans out there, they're going to be free of this matrix, try to learn. And because we are all, I'm not saying all, but there is this lot of planning through the school system and through the media and through the television to keep these masses under control. So I really hope and pray that your job and many others out there try to do the best to wake them up. What do you think about, now we are living in New America, as you know, under the new National Defense Authorization Act of 2012 with the indefinite detention. People like you, like me, we can declare suspected domestic terrorist, and we can disappear. No process, and we're gone forever. What really can we do to start to say, we got to have a plan here? What is your opinion on this?
Well, I agree that the government can whisk you away and make you disappear. Most of us are happy to believe that, well, it can't happen to me. That only happens to terrorists. Well, if the government labels you a terrorist, you really have no choice.
Yep.
And, they've decided that because you're a terrorist, you don't get a lawyer, you don't get a phone call, and you can literally disappear, and your friends would never know where you went.
Exactly.
And that's a really scary thing. We don't worry about it because we think it's going to happen to somebody else.
Yeah.
But if we don't fix it now, when it happens to you, then there's nobody else out there that's going to come fix it for you.
Exactly. No, this is so important. Before I was talking about, because everything I bring to the show, I like to back it up. I don't like just to bring words and then run, okay? The Supreme Court case and also the different other citations were pretty much show High Court that it's the driver license, it's a scam, okay? And don't get me wrong, I say that I have a driver license, so don't start to, if you are a police or sheriff in Mojave County, don't get too excited that you're going to stop me without a driver license. I play the game. But the point is, I give you an example. Thompson against Meat, 154 SC 579, American Jurisprudence, Constitutional Law, Section 329, page 1135. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon in the ordinary course of life and business is a common right which has under the right to enjoy life and liberty, to acquire and possess property, and to pursue happiness and safety. It includes the right, in so doing, to use the ordinary and usual conveyances of the day and under the existing modes of travel. Includes the right to drive a horse, drawn a carriage or wagon, therefore, and operate an automobile thereon for the usual and ordinary purpose of life and business. It doesn't, that's the bottom line. There are so many cases out there, and you can find Thompson against Smith. And there, I will put a link, because I'm not really that good at read, especially legalese with my accent, but I'll put the links with the sources. And then after all, you realize that the law that we're living today, yeah, we are under law, the rule of law. It's called the law who has the bigger gun. Because you can bring this law the way you want in front of the police. They're going to laugh at you. If they don't laugh, they're not that funny. They're going to probably tase you and arrest you. And probably you're going to go in front of a judge. Since this is a misdemeanor after all, you're not going to even have the jury trial. They're going to put you in jail anyway. That's the bottom line. That's why we are trapped. What do you think about this? I mean, we have all these cases that the Supreme Court said that the driving is not a privilege, and still we have to try to convince the world that it is not. I mean, what do you think about this, Michael?
Well, I think that, the people in government don't follow their own rules. We have all these laws on the books. As you say, you just read one of them. There are many, many others. Mm-hmm. But just because the law is written down doesn't mean that these people are planning to follow the law. Exactly. They don't follow their own rules. And, when the police officer pulls you over on the side of the road, most of the time they're polite. Yeah, they go, well, ma'am, your registration is expired, and your tail light is burned out, and they're polite, and because you're afraid because they have a gun, we go along with the whole process, and as long as you don't fight and argue and struggle against the process, then it's not that painful. Mm-hmm. And we go, well, it was my fault. The tail light really was broken, and maybe I was going a little bit too fast on the highway. And we come up with all these excuses to ignore the other information that we should know. And the information is you have a right to travel. And a right to travel is not the same thing as, being in commerce.
Exactly.
When you read all of these laws, you go to the traffic code. It's not law, it's code. And it only applies to people engaged in commerce.
Yes.
So what the government has done is they have tricked you into thinking that you're a businessman. And, if you and I go to lunch and, we travel in my automobile and I don't charge you money for taking you to lunch with me, then I am not a driver. You are not a passenger, and my automobile is not a vehicle. Those are all legal terms. Mm-hmm. If somebody buys a hammer from Ace Hardware and they go home and they kill somebody with the hammer, is it still a hammer?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is it also a murder weapon? Well, yeah, it's a murder weapon based on the way that it was used. Well, how about the 999,000 other hammers that Ace Hardware sells? No, those are still hammers, but the other hammers are not considered murder weapons because they weren't used to commit murder.
Exactly.
So it's possible for 1 million automobiles to come off the assembly line. All of them are automobiles, without a doubt. But when you use your automobile to convey goods or passengers for hire, when you're using it for commerce, that's when your automobile is given a legal term called vehicle. So my hammer is not a murder weapon. My automobile is not a vehicle, and I'm not guilty of murder or commerce.
Exactly, exactly. I really invite everybody. Let's say, I'm going to ask you now more details exactly if you have already some dates or some locations for your tour, for your Constitution class. We're talking with Michael Badnarik. But I would like also invite everybody out there, if you want to really get all this information in a book that you can share with your family, and I'm so happy I was able to buy it a few years ago, you should go to his website, constitutionpreservation.org, and I will get both of his books. But if you want to start with one, Good to Be King for me was really a gold mine of information and thinking, and make you think, and make you realize that, my gosh, we are living in illusion, and how things have been changed. You know, we are not anymore in the land of the free, home of the brave. Unfortunately, now we are the land of the free, home of the slaves. And people can be mad at me. I'm sorry. You know, I want this back. I'm not trying to bash America down, but I tell you, I cannot live in the illusion. I cannot be just lying to myself and wave a Chinese-made U.S. flag and think I'm free when I'm living under the National Defense Authorization Act. I'm living under the Patriot Act and all these codes and regulations that they are completely unconstitutional. So we got to fight back, and the first way you do it, you expose and you admit the reality. The reality that this now is not more America. We must take it back, and we start from here. Even a book like Good to Be King, I really believe can be a very important cornerstone, at least for me, was very important in my process of maturity, try to learn in this journey, to start to activate ourselves. And then you can share this book with your, public servant, with your elected representative, because it, after all, is one of us. And we need to start to take it back through the process. Michael, any dates or any place you can tell us right now where people maybe listening to the show, even this is right now probably mostly in, we have Mojave County and Bullhead, and of course this part of Arizona and Laughlin, Nevada, and Needles, California. But even through the internet, they may listen to this broadcast, and anywhere you can tell us some of the places where you're going to be doing your class.
All of my classes are listed on my website. If you go to constitutionpreservation.org, there's a calendar page.
Okay.
And I have 10 classes scheduled in the first 3 months of 2016. The first one is January 9th in Austin, Texas. And then I fly to Oregon. I'll be teaching my class January 16th in Ashland, Oregon, which is the southwest corner. And then I'm really excited because the last week of January, I've been invited to teach my Constitution class on a cruise ship.
Wow.
I'll be going on the Ruby Princess from LA down to Mexico and back. And information is on my website. But it's an 8-hour class, so I'm going to teach an hour and a half every day for 6 days.
Excellent. That's
9
nice.
hours. So after 90 minutes of teaching, then I get to go sit in the jacuzzi with a pina colada.
That's great. At least you deserve it. You've been living so many years in that cold part of America, and there in the north. It's time to get out a little bit to get some sun. And I see also you got classes in Hawaii. That's pretty exciting.
I'm very excited. In February 13th is in Richardson, Texas, just north of Dallas. And then potentially 3 classes in Hawaii. February 20th on the island of Oahu. February 27th on the island of Maui. And then a week later on March 5th in the city of Hilo, which is on the main island of Hawaii. And I have to admit, when I started talking to people, I don't know much history about Hawaii. The United States almost conquered Hawaii. We were using it to, for our naval base during World War II, before it became a state. But then March 12th in Grand Junction, Colorado, and March 19th in Aspen, Colorado, and then March 26th in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
So if you want me to come to your town, all you need to do is call me. My number is 512-461-0995. And, we can set up a class in your town. I need to have, 20 or 25 students to make it worth a plane ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And up until the end of March, it's $100. April, May, and June, it goes up to $125. And after June, it goes back to $150 per person.
Okay.
So the sooner you call me, the sooner we get your class on the calendar, the cheaper it can be.
I would like to I invite to all the listeners, at least the listeners that really would like to try to make a difference. I believe it that, first of all, just reading his book, it's worth it. But to have the opportunity to meet Michael in person. I never met Michael. I just talked to you over the phone, of course, and through your books and your readings and YouTubes. But I tell you, if we can make something like this in this part of Arizona, I would love to that. I'm going to be the first one to put my name down. Because after all, $100, you can spend them and waste them in a weekend like nothing, and nothing's left. But to have the opportunity, also find each other, find like-minded people, and to try to start to reorganize the DNA of this country, of this republic, the way it's supposed to be, the way it used to be. We start with these cell blocks, with this little DNA at local level. And then think about it. Everything is possible. What if we had, for example, a county supervisor as Michael Badnarik in our community, or a sheriff? People can, maybe we cannot change the big monster or whatever it's happening in Washington, D.C., but we could go bring America back in our communities, in our county, in our city. All these cities with that doing all these crazy things now, these new legislations and new county ordinances or city ordinances. So we can make it happen, but we need to have the information, we need to have our opening, and then we can spread it around. Even if it's just like 20 of us, we could do incredible good things just spreading this information. After we learn, after we document ourselves, we can try to, I don't want to change anybody's mind. I want just to give the opportunity for themselves to change their mind and to take it back to the basic principles of this republic. So, Michael, I really want to thank you. Now, let's see, maybe somebody wants to. I will post, by the way, on the page on lovegunsfreedom.com. On today's page is going to be exactly for the show of Sunday, the 20th of December. I will post the page, also the link, the phone number for Michael, and also an invitation to try to organize a class here in this part of Arizona. I hope so. I'll put my name down. Michael, I want to thank you, and I want to give you the last 30 seconds. You can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
I just want people to love liberty enough to continue studying. My class is an introduction to the Constitution, and after you're done, you're going to have to study a little bit on your own. But we're all in this together, brothers and sisters, and we need to defend each other.
Exactly. I want to remind to the listeners, this is not NPR. We do not extort your money through tax dollar. First of all, if you want to support the station, K-Talks, I really invite you. But as you know, I'm an independent producer. If you want to support me to keep doing what I'm doing, and you know that I have no desire to be on the air. I'm just trying to do my part here, but it takes me a lot of energy and time. You can go to my website, at least one of my websites. You can go to www.zanna, Z-A-N-N-A, art.com. You see what I do for a living. I write songs, I do paintings, and many other things. And you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents, and even just with one song, you can support the show. Thank you very much, Michael. Don't go away, guys, because we have more information breaking and interesting news coming from Oregon. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luke at Zanna. Here we go, guys. This is the second part of the first hour. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luke Zanna. And I've been talking about a few weeks ago with Amon Bundy what's happening in Oregon. There is a family I really believe is being singled out, is being targeted by the federal government, and their life is being destroyed and ruined. The Hammond family. Now, there is a call to action, and I'd like to know more what's going on for a friend of mine that also had here on the show a few weeks ago. His name is Michael Emery from Idaho. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Very good, Michael. Please give us the update. First of all, remind everybody you are one of the founders of a very interesting new internet independent media. Give the name of your website and of your place.
Okay, we are the Voice of Idaho, which is called TVOI News. We're accredited news agency in the state of Idaho, and we're just sitting here to serve the public, to be able to get some transparency in all aspects within our daily lives, and that's pretty much the mission and foundation of our news agency.
And you are also a Navy veteran, correct?
Well, I was in the Navy on a torpedo weapons retriever, and then I was in the Army for a short stint as a combat medic, and then I got borrowed out of the Army into contractor duty.
Okay, so good. At least we know a little bit about your background, just to remind to our listeners. Now, tell us a little bit. You have direct information on what's going on in Oregon with the Hammond family, and there's been some sort of a call to action. Give us all the details you can tell us over the air. You got the floor.
Okay, basically, I'll give you a really quick synopsis. The Hammonds are under duress. I think everybody knows the redress of grievance that's being asked to be exposed. Anyways, the Hammonds were threatened through their lawyer by an agency that the lawyer couldn't say who. I think it was the FBI, but we don't know. And it was a pretty harsh threat. They said, quit communicating with the Bundys and other individuals, or we will collar you up before the January 4th, and we don't want anyone to get hurt. And that was direct quote.
Yes, I remember I had Hammond Bundy a couple of weeks ago on the show. He was telling us about that. Exactly. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so after that happened, they decided to back off because they're terrified. So the citizens of Harmon County got together and did there was 160 people there, and they voted on doing what our founding fathers did, which is a safety committee. A safety committee is set up so that you can have the power of policing powers to enforce the law from the citizens' jury if there's a trial for criminal actions.
Wow.
Exciting. That's what this is. So they voted on it unanimously. It is enacted and in place as we speak. And that the citizens of Harmon County are taking the ground right now as far as giving the support necessary for this investigation. The officials that we are trying to give this redress to grievance to have not responded. They do not want to respond, nor do we expect them to respond. We encourage them to, but if they don't, then the citizens are going to have no other choice but to do a citizens grand jury and do the investigation and look through all the evidence in proper light.
Wow.
Laws being held up. Wow. And whatever findings they have, the people have the right to place subpoenas, whatever.
Let me 1 second remind everybody. It's going to be very interesting because now we are facing two different worlds colliding against each other. We have the federal government with the federal court that, in my opinion, after what I read and what I've been learning about, this has been the biggest fraud, okay? The biggest crime against this family. So they charge this family, those two members of this family, as terrorists just because they were doing some sort of a cleaning up on the land that they lease for their cows with fire. Nobody got harmed, nobody got hurt, but they're gonna get spending 5 years in jail for illegal burning, and they put it under the Terrorist Act. And of course, we know very well that BLM burn all day long with impunity, even when we complain. And at the same time, we know that there is a history behind that. The federal government wants to take their land. They're trying to buy out their land. So there is all this sort of a big sort of a corruption story there. But now they're going to spend 5 years in jail. That I don't even think if you are a sex offender, if you rape somebody, you don't spend 5 years in jail, okay? If you do a robbery, probably you get out earlier. So anyway, after this kangaroo trial, they're going to face trial. But at the same time, we have the people coming down with their trial, correct? I mean, with their investigation. Am I right or not?
What this is a revisit to what our founding fathers had to go through. It's almost just a more modern day version of what our founding fathers had to do.
Yes, I agree.
This has already been enacted, and there's no way to go back.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know how the court will rule, the People's Court will rule in this, but with all evidence in hand, it looks to me like one of the charges may be terrorism. Yeah, because the definition of terrorism is exactly what they've done, is terrorize these people.
Yeah, we need to charge the federal government with terrorism. That's the point.
That's exactly right. So I don't want to make a court case here because I don't know what the people's finding, the jury's finding will be. But we do have a redress of grievance with just some of the crimes that have been committed.
Yeah.
And so, folks, you're seeing War of Athens. You've ever heard of War of Athens?
Yeah.
Right?
Talking about Athens, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You're seeing revisit. The last time this happened was the War of Athens, and the trigger's already been pulled. And those people, if you... there'll be more information that'll come out, but what I want people to do is rest assured that we have it under control here. But we would like some volunteers of selective talent for security, if somebody would want to volunteer. Okay, but we don't need a massive call out. We've got the whole Patriots Network, Pacific Patriots Network, on alert as we speak.
All right.
And we're just watching it and letting the people in that county handle it, because we don't want to have a big mixed up thing. We want to make sure that this is proper, that there's no misunderstandings, and that everybody feels comfortable that proper actions are being applied within our boundaries of what our legal system states. And our legal system, by the Constitution, gives us full authority to address the citizens with a safety committee to protect the jurors in this investigation.
Yeah, this is very exciting because this is a system that we need to propagate and duplicate in every county, in every part of the states of this union, because unfortunately there are a lot of other cases like the Hammond that unfortunately, they didn't get media attention yet. So we need to start to understand this concept. After all, we the people, we are the final authority to also face and confront a tyrannical and corrupted government, because they can come after any one of us. If we don't start to organize now, it's going to be too late when it's going to happen to us.
This is the greatest chance we have with an example that can be. This is a case of precedence. And folks, we need to exhaust all resources to make sure that this is fair, that the federal government plays fair and honors the court rulings. Okay, because this can be applied throughout the United States, and there is criminality in every single county across this land almost. Okay, and so we need to be able to have an accountability to the people that police, to our government officials, in a proper light, not in a demonistic light.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's a lot of officers out there that love this idea, and I can't divulge who is members of the safety committee right now, but they're of high stature within their community and their county.
I would like to remind everybody to inform yourself about these magic keywords, because the history that you will study at the public reeducation camps called public schools, they never teach you that. Okay, the Battle of Athens, 1946, August the 1st and the 2nd, is something that should be studied in every American history books. It's like the same, for me, it's comparable to the first days of the American Revolution. This is the second time really we use the Second Amendment to confront and to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government, even if it was just a local level. So please find these people, the Battles of Athens, 1946. They're never going to let you know this stuff at school, but you got to find out. Now, let's remind one more time the magic keywords, because I want to start to people understand what we are talking here. This is not sedition. This is not like to be against the government. This is about restoring the form of government that we're supposed to have, a constitutional republic, where the constitution is the supreme law of the land, not some international treaty or some Agenda 21 socialist, communist, global government tyranny. Okay, so we're talking about the jury of the people, and more important, the safety committee. Now, let's remind one more time, the grand jury of the people, exactly where we find this part, because this is something very important. It's not the first time I heard this situation.
Well, there's people that are higher professors than I, but the citizens' grand jury basically is a review board by the citizens. You see, most people don't understand what a jury is. It's judging a jury by your peers. And a jury is the strength of the court that they don't let us know. That's what's supposed to keep a check and balance from tyrannical governments from becoming rogue. But what happened is the Bar Association, since the end of the Civil War, folks, this goes all the way back to the Civil War, where they contaminated our judicial system. And it is contaminated, and here's the main reason why we know it is. Because of Benghazi and the monstrosity of evidence that have come out, and now about Stinger missiles that are in the hands of ISIS, to only find out now through Putin and Russia that our own government at the high level has funded, aided, abetted, and created ISIS.
Exactly. I mean, this is so...
We have treasonous activities aiding the enemy, and nobody's going to jail. So, folks, Eric Holder should be under indictment right now. Hillary Clinton should be investigated and under indictment right now. And if they're not, that says that our judicial system is rogue and that it has no accountability, but only to itself.
Exactly. I mean, listen, guys. Every one of you, I don't care now which party, look at the story. There is a point that laws, they are no more laws, but they're just arbitrarily enforced, depends who you are. If you were doing a tenth of the things that, for example, Hillary Clinton did, or Bush did, okay, doesn't matter. We will be gone to jail for a lifetime. Instead, these people, they have some sort of a special magic immunity from our own laws. So this is wrong. We already lost the judicial system. Now it's just against us. And that's what happens, for example, to this family, the Hammond. I mean, they're spending 5 years in a federal jail. I mean, excuse me, prison. I mean, this is serious stuff.
By the way, because they already spent time in jail and they can't charge them again for the same crime, but they did, folks.
Yeah, that's part we talk with Hammond Bandit too. This is amazing. This is like coming back to the time of the kings. And
not on our watch right now. And I can tell you, we want everybody to play fair. We want to have responsibility. We've got it handled here. We could use some talented resources potentially, and maybe they can contact me and I can give a liaison or something like that.
Give your website, please, so people can contact you if they have any questions or any information they want to go further about the situation.
Okay, my website is TVOI News, the Voice of Idaho, that's .com. And my email address is my email address is tvoimgun@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. And I'll also put a link of your website directly on lovegunsfreedom.com on today's show. Listen, Michael, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for keeping us updated. And I want to say, everybody out there, don't think just because this is happening in Oregon, it's not going to touch you. By the way,
I'd like to add this. If you want to really get a good update on the ground, check out TVOI News and go to our Facebook and check it out. We'll be pretty much get a good ground resource. Sorry.
Very good. And before you go, I want to say thank you again. And more important, I want to say thank to everybody out there who understands that this is not just some sort of a show for entertainment, but this is like really a lifetime opportunity to start to retake this country back. And I'm telling you guys, if you listen to the show, you think you're laughing at us, that's fine. You can laugh, I don't care. But if you're listening to the show, you want to do something, I appreciate you for two things. First of all, to take in notice of what's going on and try to be proactive, because I would like to ask for your help to propagate this information, because we need to learn from what other people are doing in our country, and maybe we can, I'm sure we're going to need it, unfortunately, also in our own part of the states. So let's try to propagate this information. I appreciate for your help to sharing it, and also I appreciate your help to support this show. Seriously, I say many times, this is not NPR. We don't not extort the money out of your pocket like many, the public broadcasting station through the taxes. If you want to support, first of all, the station, K-Talk at 1340 AM, I appreciate it, but I'm not even part of the station. I'm an independent producer. So if you want to support this program, please go to lovegunsfreedom.com and you can find many ways. One of that, you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. Or, for example, you can get any type of our little sponsor that I have, starting from my own little products. So check it out, please. ConfederateGifts.us or Zanna.us. Whatever you can do, seriously, this is not a game. This is not a test. This is real. Michael, thank you very much, and say hi to your lady, okay?
I will do that.
Now, I have a song I'm going to share with you. It's one of my songs. It's called The Line in the Sand. And I tell you, when I wrote these songs a few years ago, I had no idea that it's going to be so close the time we're going to face this line in the sand. This is already a line in the sand. We have fellow Americans that are going to spend a rot time in jail. And guess what? For something that there was no... When there is no victim, in my opinion, there is no crime, okay? And the point is, these 5 years in jail now, this is going to ruin their life. Think about their lives, their sons, their grandsons, their wives, their business, their homes, gone. Gone. That could happen to you tomorrow. Now today you have a choice. Of course, you can just go back to regular life, just ignore all this and say, whatever, I'm fine. After all, I don't need that. I am not part of that. Guess what? Tomorrow you have a son or a daughter may face in the same situation, you want it or not. This tyranny is going to touch us, all of us. So all I can say, I'm just a little songwriter. I wrote this little song, it's called The Line in the Sand, and I hope we can somehow stop this tyranny before it crosses the line. Because when the line is being crossed, there are only two options. You can submit and be a slave and fake it that you're still free, but you know that in the deep of your heart you're a complete slave, or fight back. I'm not for violence. I'm not for creating any type of drama that we don't need. But at the same time, I'm not a slave. So I will do everything I can to stop, even just through the little humble radio show, to try to wake up every one of us to try to avoid this. But if we have to one day, we need to be ready, because the moment is coming. The Line in the Sand, musical lyrics by Gianluca Zanna. See you ready for the next second hour. Don't go away.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. Line in the sand, are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line in the sand, just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you're gonna take it? How much more you're gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you.